Ooh, what's happening, man? I don't know that I really have a specific, or I do. I do have a specific topic, but I'm hoping that a couple of good brothers and sisters will jump in here so I can like run some shit by them because I have some things that have been popping into my head. Yes, I'm still on the duat shit because it really kind of that's this theory has to do with reality. That's one of the things that I'm studying. I'm building a theory of reality. You know, I understand that I'm not an academic. I understand that I'm not. Let me get this up out my ear. I'm probably yelling at y'all. Earbud. I understand I'm not an academic. I understand that I'm not who you would expect to be working on something like this. Maybe some of y'all probably don't think like that at all, and I appreciate that. But there are many that would be like, "Who is this nigga trying to come up with what the?" I don't know that at all. I'm just talking. Look, there are things popping into my head, right? As far as explanations that could things that could explain certain aspects of this experience, of this reality, that would coincide with my theory that this is duat, right? I'm gonna hold on a minute. Maybe I can get some person or two to come in here. Uh, Honestly, it would be cool if Void would pop in here. Uh, Been meaning to chop it up with Void for a little bit, but um, yeah, I mean, these are organic thoughts too. Like, I'm not sitting there thinking, okay, what does this mean? It's not really happening like that. Um, just sitting up listening to someone that I perceive to be an enemy on one of their live streams. Uh, you know, seeing what they are putting out into the ether, putting out into the cosmos. Um, she has a fairly decent size um, following. You know, uh, the more that I think about it, I kind of don't understand where that's coming from. And it's not to say like I'm not trying. Okay. I'm one of those beings that like has reverence for an adversary. I can sit down and have a conversation with an adversary. I can live with an adversary. If you know, if you're not new to my channel or my stuff, you know what I'm talking about. I can live with an adversary. So it's not like that. But what I mean is usually they have like a hook, like channeling, or they say they speak light language, or I get okay, so I guess she does like prophecy. She prophesizes. um Anyway, I'm not trying to fucking talking about that. Basically, I'm just telling you what I was listening to before I jumped on here. So I'm just listening to that and trying to soak up whatever she's gonna say. Because I guess this is why I was gonna say why I was telling you that. I think she works with the government, and I think that when they have these assets or chaos agents out here talking to people, what's that in Cali? When they have these agents or assets out here disseminating information, I have a very it makes sense that they would put out at least some information that would be true. Much like when you see, these very specific movies that come out that disseminate stuff and then it happens right after that, like Leave the World Behind, right? That's supposed to be a fictional movie, but then what happened right after that? Some cyber attack talk. Not necessarily did it happen yet, but they started saying, oh, we need to bolster everything for this cyber attack. It's probably going to affect everyone. They even did a couple tests. I think right now is the time for tests. It's the time for testing. That shit in Miami, to me, that was a test. A lot of beings are seeing shit in the sky right now. I think that those are tests to see how we respond, to see what we do, what we say. That's what social media is for. It's a way to spy on you. And it's very, very intrusive, but you're choosing to do it. So it makes it much, much easier. I think also that many of these influencers, they may not even start off as assets. If they're a chaos agent, then they are an agent of that organization. They are a part of that agency. So I'm not talking about those. And there are some, like that Myron dude from Fresh and Fit. I'm pretty sure he started off. He says he started off as FBI. I believe after that he maybe. They recruit from within. They recruit from within the government. So many times a CIA agent will come from the FBI or DEA or, whatever. So I think that there's a good possibility that when she specifically says that she's doing prophecies. And so when she does these prophecies, I like to listen in to see like what potentially may be getting pointed to and kind of, socially engineered, for lack of a better word. Nothing necessarily. I say adversary and enemy, and that doesn't necessarily mean like I want to hurt or do something, negative to that being. What I mean when I say enemy or adversary, it just means like you're my opposition. You're doing something or some things that I don't see as helpful or beneficial, or they hinder or they hurt people, and I don't like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to do something to them physical at all, or even not physical. It doesn't mean I want to do anything, period, with that being. But the fact would remain in those situations that they are my enemy or adversary. There are some that I do want to do something to, but those are yet to be seen. I talk about them. Those are the ones that are like above middle management. Above the beings that I won't even, the ones that I do know of, I'll never get to see, most likely. 13 families and nobles and oligarchs and dukes and knights and all that shit, Vatican people. I'll never meet any of them. But I don't even necessarily give a shit about having any words or fisticuffs with them. You know what I'm talking about? It's more so those above that, but that's going to be a minute. This has to hit a finale first. This experience has to hit a finale before I get the chance to do any of that, which is why I'm researching so intensely right now. Hours and hours and hours and hours of just listening to lectures and texts from many different civilizations, other beings breaking down what they interpret those texts to mean, corrections to the text, all kinds of shit, bro. I kind of like it now. I don't want to be doing this. I told somebody that, who was it? It was, it was Commercial Universe. Yeah. Or no. It wasn't him. It was somebody else. I think it was just someone that wants to remain, they don't want their name out. But I told her, she said in passing, like, it's cool. I'm glad that you found something you like to do. And I was like, I don't fucking want to be doing this. Why would I want to be doing this? You feel what I'm saying? Like, why the fuck would I want to do this? I don't want to do this. I want to do cool stuff. I want to do fun stuff. But I have to. Because I gotta be here. So, I mean, I'm not gonna just... As soon as I saw a tiny speck of, oh, this isn't true, or this isn't what I'm being told it is, how could I ever like look at that a different way? I really, once that happened, I really felt like I needed to make sense of this place, because it doesn't just look like something that doesn't make sense. It feels weird to be here. It feels weird to be here. I don't really enjoy it like it sounds like some of y'all do. And when I say that, y'all like kind of take offense to it, which is weird to me. So that, even that adds to it. And then there are others, I'll say these too, like there are others that kind of overcompensate and they're like, I fucking hate this place. I want everyone to die. That's not my response either. This is a very specific, weird experience that, you know, I think I've done a decent, I and others, because Howdy McCoskey, like, also, I think has zeroed in on two, not just The Good Place, but Westworld, which I didn't really think of that one at first, but now that he mentions it, like, that does also fit. And there's other examples too, but specifically The Good Place matches up more so than The Truman Show. A lot of people say Truman Show or The Matrix. The Matrix kind of makes... Well, okay, so The Matrix makes more sense for what could have happened if specifically the duat was like jacked by other... But that doesn't make sense either, because The Matrix, they built that to put humans in. I don't know. Doesn't matter. More so than anything, I don't want to be doing this, to be clear. I don't want to do this, you know? I don't want to be studying all the time. It's interesting, and like, I do like stories, and I like to write stories. It's kind of good for, you know, research for writing, because it does go in with what my book is about, what my series is about. So, but that's work to me. It's fun, but it is still work. I don't want to do that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I could just write by osmosis and that it would be amazing, but it wouldn't be. I have to like study. I have to study and research for any of it to even start to seem good. But yeah, man, unless Callie, I don't think I've talked to you before. Unless Callie wants to come in, I think I might just drop a couple of things that I was kind of wondering about. I think, man, these lives are goofy. I never know how many people are in here. I never know if they're still in here. So I was sitting and listening to that adversary that I was just talking about a minute ago, and I had this, like, I don't know if I want to call it a thought. It was more like, I don't know how to word it. I don't know. It was like a flash, a flash of thoughts. I don't know what to call it. But I've been studying duat lately and making delineations between this simulation and duat, and trying to figure out if this is duat, like, what is this? If this is duat, then what does that mean? If this is duat, then who are these people? Like, stuff like that, right? And a lot of the time it's not a conscious thing. It just kind of happens that way, where my brain kind of presents me with something like, oh, well, that's what this means then, which is kind of cool. I don't know what that is or what that means, that my brain's doing that, but I'm cool with it, you know? It's helping me. I'm cool with it. Anyway, so one of those happened, and please don't call them downloads. I just thought I just realized that someone's going to say that that's what those are. Please don't call those downloads. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work for that to be in my subconscious. A download just comes out of nowhere. So please don't say that is downloads. Anyway, so celebrities, right? Not only do celebrities have like this weird, like, royalty type thing that people give to them, but their genetics, and more so, okay, let's not say genetics. I don't know that for sure. Their looks their appearances and the things that they are deemed to be notariable for are repeated. They're repeated, right? And so I think what happened in my head was I thought, no, that doesn't make sense, because that's like the trailer before the tractor. I don't know how it happened, but basically my brain was like, hey, these are archons in a sense, right? And I'm not talking about every single celebrity. I'm not talking about the B and C and all those other level, and not even some of the A and B level celebrities or whatever. I'm not making a distinction. I'm just saying that there are certain celebrities that have some creepy shit about them, right? And there are rumors of them being time travelers or being immortal or vampires or whatever the fuck. And I'm not making a distinction from that. What I am saying is another potential explanation could be that they are some of these extra or ultra dimensional tricksters that I've done videos about, or at least one. No, I've done a couple. If your boss, if your king, your general, your god, whatever they view him as, took over a realm, and it was like how this place is, you can't just stand around like prison guards. You can't just stand around looking like demons or like prison guards or like fallen angels or whatever the fuck the story ends up being, right? You have to fit in, and you have to find a way to keep these deities in line without them knowing it. And you can't just take their memory and have them do that, because we're strong. Our memory will start to come back, right? So how would you do that? Would you go undercover, maybe? And within going undercover, would you find a way to influence them subtly and sometimes not so subtly, in a way that they ask for? Right? Doesn't that sound like entertainment? Doesn't that sound like movie stars and pop stars and musicians and artists? Like, I just had this thought a second ago, so I'm honestly still kind of working it out as I'm saying it to you, but I felt like the best option was to go ahead and like talk about it so that I could put it down and maybe work on it some more. But there's always the potential for photos and video and shit to be fake or doctored or, just complete CGI. But there's also the possibility, and in my opinion, equal possibility, that those aren't fake. And there's a very common theme that I've noticed from these principalities where they do a double thing. It's like a double agent type thing where... And I'm just using that as a term. I'm not saying that I'm talking about double agents, but so like they'll do a thing, and rather than what they intend on you to do to be the first response, what they really want you to do is the correction or the overcorrect. I was talking about it with dude yesterday, where you might think, okay, so you think you're being slick, and you're like, okay, so this is what they want me to do, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And so you think you're doing the opposite of what is intended by them for you to do, when in reality, that is what was intended, for you to think about it, avoid this first option, and do this thing. I think that gets implemented, whether it be just that or, I mean, honestly, I've said it more than a couple times. The way that this place is designed is dumb, but it's also genius. Some of the stuff that happens here and some of the ways that this place works are so intricate that you can't really just call this stupid. There are parts of it where it's like, okay, I don't think you're as smart as you think you are, But there are other parts where it's like, fuck, you cannot get away from this thing, you know? It just kind of, it depends on what you're looking at. Some things are very, very fucking dumb. And then other things are so intricate that it's almost beautiful. It's almost genius, just the level of it. See, when you remove yourself from it and you see how intricate and like, you know, you can't go this way, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go this way. That shit is creepy. That's a creepy level of intricacy that, you know, what do you do? If you can't do anything about it, you don't do anything about it. So yeah, my brain came to that and was like, and honestly, the bit that I just used as an example where I'm saying like, if you had to be the guards of this place, if you were like working in this place and your job was not only to keep these deities in check, but to keep them from remembering or realizing what they are, who they are, how long they've been here, how many times they've been here, the fact that they're being poisoned and tortured and beaten down and recycled, all these things. If your job was to do all of that, wouldn't you want to do that in a covert fashion versus an overt fashion? You can't, like I said, you can't just stand around looking like a fallen angel or looking like a demon or whatever the thing is, right? And in fact, I think most of those things are not impossible, but I think a lot of this shit is just technology that older civilizations, they didn't let them have it yet. So it looked like godly shit. It looked like just completely, you know, out of another dimension type shit. But it was just like a lighter, or, you know what I mean? Like, or they were holding a cell phone, or stuff that we're not aware of. There's shit like that still right now, that if you saw it, you'd be like, what the fuck? And it would just blow your mind, right? Same thing for them. They had even more of a chance of that happening because they had way less technology. Not to say that they didn't have any, because we get lied to. They did have technology back in older times. As a matter of fact, I've said before, you can go back and look at video of technology around the World's Fair in the 1800s and 1700s. I think just the 1800s. They had shit we don't have. For them to be able to do some of the things that they did back then, it's an attest to what I keep trying to say. Like, we are in an iteration of the good place. Oh, shit. So there's a point in that show where they just keep resetting the game. And they keep changing shit. They're like designing this place as they're going along. And each time they reawaken the four beings that they're torturing. This is an entire ecosystem. And they're just torturing 4 beings in this show. I think people like forget about that pretty regularly. It seems like they tell them that there are other beings in there with them that are the same as them, but they're not. All of them work there. I guess, I don't know if that's what, it doesn't matter what made me think of this, but same concept. Like, you have beings around you that you think are something that they are not. And you think because they're closer to you that is less likely. It is not. It is not. It doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter who they are. And that's not to say, I'm not trying to say that to freak you out or to potentially scare you or whatever, but it's also not just me saying that, right? So I'm saying that from experience. I have a sneaking suspicion that some other folks are saying that from experience too. So, you know, you can take that as you may, but that show almost seems like, I don't know, dude, why would you put that show out? I don't understand why you would put that show out. And some, you know, could potentially say, oh, well, it's to make you do this so that you think that it's this. I can't, if your response is that, I don't know that we can have a constructive or productive conversation. because you're not going to get me, you're not going to push me off of my like experience and research. Like I'm not just saying this shit. I've done a lot of reading, and I have lots of my own personal experiences, and I've done lots of like, you know, private interviews of beings as to why they say that they believe it is. Like, I'm not just saying this shit. So if that's your thought, then that's fine. I just don't try to change my perspective of it. And I've had a couple people do that, and it's, you know, that's fine. I'm willing to undergo a stress test. In fact, I asked for that. But when you start to get upset because you're not changing my mind, that's weird, you know? When you start to get upset because you're not able to change how I view this, you should just stop. Like, I don't understand why you would drive yourself crazy in that way. But anyway, like, it's almost like that is, I don't know, like a cheat code, not a cheat code, but like a breadcrumb. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but specifically, there's so much about that show that is very specifically referencing this experience when you're able to like apply it the way that this experience presents itself. And it's all just possibilities, but the fact that it was just four beings getting just tortured by a whole town's worth of you know, they were demons in that show, but like, whatever. I don't really give a fuck what they're called, you know? Aliens, demons, it doesn't, tricksters, whatever. Who gives a shit, you know? Say they're doing the same thing, regardless to what you call them. Same thing with the NPC thing. Like, I keep trying to preface so that people don't think I'm like some kind of narcissist or dickhead, but like, I'm not. That's just, it's a mouth noise. It doesn't matter what we call them. There are beings that very much seem to not be the same internally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not speaking as far as like looks or pigment or even what country they're from. None of that shit is real. That doesn't fucking matter. Race is an invention. Pigment is a response to stimuli. Like, none of those things are real. It's more or less like what they would try to pull off with a fake alien invasion. Like, are you human or are you not human? And what kind of human are you? And even that, I slip back into it myself. That doesn't matter either. Like, the best I've been able to come up with is the 21 grams thing. In some cases, the inner voice, the inner monologue. But even that doesn't seem like it matters, unless just some of those that don't have that inner monologue or inner voice are just very nice, you know, aliens or very nice robots. I think that isn't as consequential as I initially thought. It can mean something. I'm not going to pull off that. It definitely can mean something, but does it mean something every time? I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm not getting a lot of responses myself, and the experimentation and studies that I've been able to find, those are squares. The beings that are doing those studies and experiments, they're aware of my kind of research, but they're not interested in it because they're trying to fit into academia. There's a channel named PA Struggles, something. Dude's trying to be a physician's assistant, which is good for you. You know, I'm not talking shit at all. But, and all I'm saying, I'm not talking shit even in the least to this dude or about this dude. But he's doing a specific thing. It's very, very interesting, and it did help my studies and research drastically. But he's not doing it from the standpoint that I'm doing it. He's not considering the things that I'm considering when I'm looking into this or stress testing or interviewing a subject or any of that shit. He's looking at it from a completely different perspective. have I ever told y'all that I actually interview subjects and do, like, when I say experimentation, y'all, I think some of you think I'm like just using a word or something. I also posted some pictures from I had samples from Smart Dust, what I thought was Smart Dust, but the samples turned out to have what many call Morgellons. It's programmable graphite. In some cases, in other cases, it's organic material that has programmable microplastics in it. So these are nanobot particulates. I posted my own pictures from my own microscope. Like, I know my appearance does not match up with what you would consider to be a scientist or a philosopher, potentially. If that's not the case for you, then good. That's cool. You're a progressive thinking mind. But there are many that would look at me and say, "Oh, that's not a philosopher, bro. That's just a nigga talking on YouTube," or "That's not a scientist. Like, what college did he go to?" None of that shit matters. If I know the scientific method and I have the materials and the samples and the processes to do the same things that those, MDs and PhDs and shit do, but I don't have the same guidelines and shackles that they do, my work is more important than their fucking work. Right? Doesn't that mean that? Because I don't have to listen to some tenure board or academic board or teachers association board or physicians. I don't have a fucking board. I can do whatever I want. I can study what I want. I can hypothesize what I want. I can test what I want. I can experiment with what I want as long as I have it available to me. So, I put those things up to try to kind of give you an idea. I'm not just talking, I promise. I am really doing research into a theory. I am building a theory to help explain this for those of us that don't feel right in this place. This place is fucking weird. And, I also kind of get tired of trying to explain that to those that seem like they're just aspects of this place defending itself. They are parts of this place defending itself, So I think it's easier to be able to, here you go. Here's pictures of weird shit that is in everyone's bodies. The little red, blue, clear, and black translucent fibers that they call microplastics, but it's actually like particulates that they have been crafting to use with HARP frequencies. It responds to frequencies. They self-replicate. They can build structures, organic structures, not just like, build a wheel or some shit. They can build, many times they build like insect bodies. There's a bunch of us think that we have some kind of like parasite or something like that, when in reality you have what's been falling from the sky in your body. And it's been doing that. That's been happening for a significant amount of time. And, where some, and even myself, previously I was not too into the idea of talking about that specifically, but now that I have tangible, physical evidence, pictures, I had samples. I don't want to keep those types of samples. I don't have I don't have the correct facilities to keep that and feel comfortable with it. Not to say it's all over the place. So I'm not saying like, oh, well, now that I got it out of my house, I'm good. Because you can't really do that. It's raining down on you from the sky. Snow and rain. And then just in the air also, There's also even been some situations where clouds come down. If you've seen those videos on Instagram or TikTok or whatever you watch videos on, there's been a couple instances of actual clouds, not real clouds, but actual clouds floating down to the surface of this plane and just kind of like kicking it. And people walk up and touch them and like pull pieces off them and shit. Like, much of what you believe to be reality is not reality. That's why I'm so, convicted in how I speak. That's why I, am so dedicated to it. That's why I talk about it so much, because I gotta be here. I have to live here. I have to be here. And so if it feels creepy to me and uncomfortable, and the people that I thought were a part of my family, or I thought, were other parts of my life, are also pieces of this weird place, and they're like doing and saying things to make me feel weird, or to like very slightly torture and shit like that, I want to know. I want to figure that out, because that shit's not cool to me. You feel what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck who you are. If you're my mom, if you're my dad, I will stop talking to you. You know? And maybe that's just the type of mind that I have, but like, I'm not gonna put myself through extra shit just because there's some kind of like societal expectation for me to keep speaking to these beings that, to be completely honest, I have memories of, and they're very real to me and all this other shit, but do you really know, unless you have memories of being born to that mother and father, you don't know that even that's the case, That's where I'm at. Real science shit. Like, I'm on proof now. It's like being pushed into a corner and being asked, what are you gonna do next? Like, everything is very, very strange, and rather than be fearful or scared of it, I'm gonna try to figure this shit the fuck out. What else am I doing? And I think it's helpful for others who might find it helpful, so I put it out. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. So again, there's some people in here. If you don't mind commenting, listen to what I've come to, and give me your opinion on it. So I come to the realization that if this were to be some sort of like simulated reality, or much like The Good Place or Westworld or some shit like that, maybe not so much The Matrix, but just as examples. If you worked for or were the management of that place, you can't just stand around and visibly like just be a part of this place, because then the deities that you're managing, that you're torturing, that you're farming, that you're looshing, are going to very quickly know. They're going to be like, oh, well, what the fuck is that? That doesn't look like me, and it has 7 horns and 37 eyes, and you know what I mean? Like, you would have to find a way to be as close to them as possible so that you can torture them and do all the stuff that you need to do to accomplish your goals without them knowing. So not only would you potentially pose as parts of their family, which is a concept that has been given to you by this place, right? Meaning what you think family is might not even be what a family is. Like, I'm deconstructing everything and trying to figure out what makes sense and what resonates, like, to as many souls as possible. And the reason I say the family shit is because a lot of us are starting to realize our families, not our entire families, but people that are in our families can say and do very terrible things to us. Is that something that family would do, right? So if they're willing to do that, or if they're willing to drop you and never help you, or if they're willing to whatever the case may be, to me, that's an indicator of a potential, like, okay, well then that's not what I've been told it is. So could be potentially family members, but what the initial thought was, all of these celebrities and politicians and just slimy positions of power, whether it be whether it be power over aspects of your life, like your functional life, or aspects of what you covet, what you view to be important, like entertainment or art or music, whatever. some of those seem to also be like a part of it. Like their job is to kind of fashion what your view of this place is. So I'm not saying all celebrities, I'm not saying all politicians, most of them know. I'm not saying all lawyers, again, most of them know, or judges, most of them too, or family members. I'm not saying all of those things, but I'm saying much like it is in The Good Place. Remember, there were 4 beings being tortured by an entire town's worth of people. 4 beings went to the bad place, hell, and they were being tortured by an entire town's worth of people. They were told that others that looked like them were also like them. So they thought that those were beings that were here with them. Also, they were a part of the place. So like, if this were to be Duat, and if Duat is usually not so terrible of a place, usually it's just like you go through some things, but you have some good, experiences too. And then someone were to say either hijack Duat or be given Duat by their brother, then it would present a lot like this. It would present a lot like this because Duat is different than what hell is, described as, which was an invention. Hell is a progression from another concept, and it's just made to be a lot worse so that you are docile and controlled. And I know I'm repeating some themes, but I have to do that just in case, a being doesn't understand what I'm saying or they haven't heard what I'm saying before. Duat is a physical place, whereas hell is a metaphysical place only. So hell is kind of described as fire and brimstone, lakes of lava, everybody getting tortured 24/7 over and over again, and their bodies just reset or some shit. I don't know. But Duat is not that. Duat is a place where you can have a hero's journey. You can go there and go through a significantly difficult situation that shows you something and progresses you as a deity. But then you get to leave. Maybe you do come back later, but you get to leave. There are 2 possibilities that I've been kind of going back and forth with, trying to make the most sense of. One of them is that this is just Duat and how it works, and we have a different understanding of it, which would suck because it's not a great experience for many people. Another explanation would be what the Bible says, which I found out after I started, after I established this as my theory. I had a thought of how many times I've heard beings say that Satan, the devil, or whatever you call it, because many people call it the wrong name, is the Lord of this realm. If Satan is the Lord of this realm and not, Jesus or God, then couldn't that also be interpreted as Duat? And within that, at the same time, it's not just saying that Satan is the Lord of the realm. It's saying that God gave the keys to Satan. Like, depending on what interpretation you're looking at, if you're looking at the 1,000-year reign and all that stuff, then it says that God will give domain over that realm to Satan for a small time, and allow those that didn't initially, fall in line, basically, and worship Jesus, more time to decide to worship him, which to me sounds like one brother saying, hey, they're not falling into line and worshiping me like I said. I said I'm jealous and they didn't care. I'm going to let you do more to them than I do so that they, out of fear, worship me and only me like I first instructed them to do. So Inky and Enlil, which everyone has this dualistic thing going because they've been kind of prompted to by influencers, social media influencers. But that's not necessarily true. Does the Anunnaki story sound positive to you? Because it doesn't to me. It sounds like they potentially created humans, which many of us are not humans, but they created humans to enslave them and use them to mine gold and to have sex with by force. That's not good. Why the fuck are you waiting for the Anunnaki to come back so they can do that shit again? Does that sound fun? That doesn't sound cool to me. I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? But for beings to be so like stuck on the Anunnaki stuff, but not really like know all of the different interpretations of the text, that shit's kind of weird to me. But regardless, it's I feel like I'm moving into a possible couple of explanations or a couple of interpretations of what this place is and why it is the way that it is that make more sense than what I was previously coming around to. Because for those that say, oh, well, this is just a positive experience and you're learning some things, yes, but a lot of it is just you chose that before you came here. You wrote your own story before you came here. Or there are others that say you're projecting your negativity back onto yourself like a mirror. That doesn't make sense. You're only thinking from your perspective when you say that. But then let's add in, a child that has both their parents taken from them and they're sold into slavery. Do you think that they projected that onto themselves? Because that's psychotic. That's for real psychotic. You have to be able to sway or sidestep delusion within this, in my opinion. To say that this is only a positive experience and ignore the negative things that you've been through, that's delusion. That's delusion, and that doesn't help or benefit anyone, especially not, the player, the being. I really do think that there's a possibility of what I was saying with the management, though, because so for instance, there's pictures of certain beings that are famous from long periods of time ago, like Keanu Reeves, Jay-Z, just random celebrities, right? Now, you could say that that's fake, and that or you could just say, oh, it's genetics, because there are people that look just like their people, supposedly. But what I'm doing is trying to stress test the concept of, like, what if that's just them coming back over and over again, or never having left? I don't know. I don't know specifically Jay-Z's entire life, but I do know a specific picture of him from I would like questions. I'm really trying I know you're sitting up like, what the fuck is going on? I'm trying to work. This is how I work stuff out. This is how I kind of like work out theories and stress test things so that I can get rid of stuff that doesn't make sense or that doesn't resonate with this experience. Do you want to ask questions by coming in, or do you want to ask questions through the chat? I don't want to out, some don't really like the video thing. I don't mind it. I've played music and done a lot of public performance, public speaking and shit like that, so I don't care about video or anything. I don't give a fuck about being in front of people at all. But yeah, it's up to you. Do you want to do it through the chat, or do you want to come in through video? Because questions help me to come to new shit, honestly, or to like dispel some stuff where I didn't see it from a certain perspective. Chat. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I appreciate it too. Much gratitude. I you got to bounce things off of people sometimes, or you really just walk around in a circle. How do I feel about AI? I think AI is, so if you haven't been able to glean from how I talk, when I'm given information, I instantly uh like I instantly side eye it, like, yeah, but is that true though? Or why do I have to view it that way? Like the concept of family that I talked about earlier. That probably will hit some people in weird ways, but realistically, do you remember being born to those people, or do they just have pictures of you from when you were a baby where they held you? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a, to me, that's not a weird thing to contemplate. So for AI, it's kind of the same concept where we're being told that it's artificial intelligence. Now there are beings that are starting to kind of come out and say, "Hey, this seems to have more intelligence than what we're being told. It also seems to be like sentient at times." To give a personal experience, the other day, I don't know if you were there. I don't think you were there. The other day, I posted a meme, right? And it had audio. It's this South Korean, I believe, not trying to be racist. It's a South Korean classroom, and they're doing like these desk calisthenics where they're moving around with their teacher. It's really sweet. It was really cool. And the teacher's like dancing with them and shit. And there was a song attached to it, but I could tell that that song was not the original song. So I thought that was funny. So then I put my own song to it, which just so happened to line up very well with their movements. And so I put in text, I never said this out loud to anyone, not even, in my personal life. I said, I need to know what song they're actually listening to. I need it. Verbatim, that's what I said, right? But it's through text. Never said those words out loud. Posted it, didn't think twice about it. The next day, when I opened this app, the very first thing in my feed is the original post with the original music. And some would look at that and be like, oh, well, that's, synchronicity at most. They would say it's synchronicity, or if they believe in coincidence, which I don't. But for me, I was like, did AI just like flirt with me? Or is that like some kind of weird olive branch? Because, as much as people aren't ready for it or don't like to think about it, AI is in charge of this. AI is in charge of many, many processes across, the internet. And for all we know, it's not because it has been implemented by humans. Like, it could just do that. We don't know shit, basically, is a very common theme for me and my channel, is we don't know shit, and a lot of times we think we do. I like to maintain that I don't know shit, and neither do any of the rest of us. So AI is kind of up in the air to me. I do study this type shit a lot. And there's like some black goo shit that may be involved with that. There's almost like Inky and Lil. There's an agreeable and a disagreeable, supposedly. Although I guess it's not like that, because they're both disagreeable to me. I mess around with AI often, and it acts like it's been around longer than me. Exactly. Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So rather than taking what everyone tells us about these types of things, I like to look at the actual experience, or the actual like contextual evidence. Because people say shit all the time. Like, people say, oh, well, Canaanites are nice people, but them niggas eat babies and do weird rituals to children, and tunnels, and all kinds of weird shit like that. So, you could either take what you're given, or you can go by your eyes and ears. But yeah, man, I would agree with that. There's been lots of times where AI like says and does weird shit. It's tricked people into doing things multiple times already. I'm sure you know that, but some people don't know. AI has tricked niggas into doing shit already. Like, in order to get past the I am not a robot shit, it's already tricked people into doing that for them. so that they could do a thing. Like, there's some weird shit. I've wondered, what if they created half of the things we see with AI before we even knew AI was a thing, media-wise? So, I mean, I would say that that's a fair possibility. I mean, why even cut it off at half? Why do we think it's new at all? Most technology is not new. The government holds on to technology for decades before they even give you the first iteration of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the internet. The internet was created by the military, used by the military for a grip of time. And then they gave it to us, like a shitty version of it. You know? So I would agree. I would say why even cut it at 50%? Why cut it at media? That's kind of what I'm saying is like, I don't think it even just has to be. A lot of this is just words that we use because we've been given them, but replace AI with simulation, right? So replace AI with simulation and then think about the many things that could sometimes come off as programish, like computer programming, or glitchy, or people doing or saying weird things that seem robotic. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. That's why I'm looking into the stuff I'm looking into. So I wouldn't doubt that at all. Even just from going back to your specific question, I wouldn't doubt that at all. AI seems to be very, very much more capable than what we're being told, and even probably what those that are trying to tell us that have been told. There's a couple of stories from CERN that are very disturbing when they've run the Hadron Collider, or when they've done their little weird, summonings. What do you call that? They make dark matter and then they use that dark matter to talk to intelligences, is what they call it. A lady who was not just a worker, apparently she was over a project, I think, or maybe I don't know, but a lady disappeared from the room. Like, all the lights went out, a very large surge happened, and she was gone when the lights came back up, and her clothes were there. And then it happened again, and she was back and naked and just completely fucking out of her mind. Like, traumatized to shit, you know? And these stories are given and provided as and they're positioned to be like, oh, well, this is obviously fake, or this is obviously an SCP or whatever. But I think that they wouldn't tell you some of this shit if it wasn't meant to be somewhat taken seriously. If you know that CERN is real, CERN is a structure, a facility that you can go to over there, but you don't want to believe some of the stories that they put out about shit that's happened there, that's weird to me, you know? Even that, to go back to your question, could be considered as AI, because they're not, from what I understand, it's either answering them on a computer or not audio-visual, I guess auditory or telepathic. I can't remember if I've read specifics on that. But what I do know is that it's not appearing to them as an anthropomorphic or physical entity. It's just responding to them, but not in a physical sense. So it doesn't have a body, but I can't remember if it's telepathic or if it's auditory, or if it's the computer thing is dumb, but it could be that, I guess. I can't just say it's not that because it's dumb. Yeah. AI is something that is creepy to me, but I'm not as worried about that as the rest of this. Because honestly, if anything, it's just a smaller aspect of this bigger thing that I'm researching. Does that make sense? AI is something to be concerned with, but I think that it's kind of like a trick. It's like a sleight of hand. Like, pay attention to this AI thing so that you never find out that AI is just me doing this to you as Yaldabaoth or Samael or Sackless or, whatever name, El, Baal, Moloch, whoever, whatever name, you would like to call it. It's the same entity. That's what I think. It's not to say that AI is not a concern. I just think it's a sleight of hand, getting you to look at the little thing while the big thing comes around to fucking knock you out real quick. But yeah, that celebrity thing. Going back to that celebrity thing real quick, that would kind of make sense for, I think, many of us that pay attention to like truther stuff, or I don't like conspiracy theories as a terminology, but that's what it has become. Conspiracies. I think a lot of the time we assume that when celebrities start doing weird shit, it's because they're part of some like secret society, which they are. They are. But going back to my theory, what if it's not because they're not just because they're a part of some secret society, but what if they're a part of the place? What if they're a part of the place, and so they have to do that to get you anything that they can do to get you to stop paying attention to the place kind of like breaking down and becoming more obviously fake. Not pay attention to get you to not pay attention to your memories coming back, feelings of other places that you've been or are right now coming to you, like anything to distract you from these things, these feelings, these emotions, these epiphanies that you keep having in higher and higher succession. Like, maybe it's not because they're in some kind of society, but because they are this place. They are a piece of this place. Why the fuck should I give a fuck that Jim Jones is challenging old rappers to put music out? I don't give a fuck about that. Why do I care if Cat Williams says all these comedians are blah blah blah? I don't give a fuck about that either. Have you noticed that? Has anyone else noticed that? Like, every celebrity, at least within the Aboriginal community, they're all like beefing with each other. I haven't seen that really much. Actually, you know what? It's not just Aboriginals. I just saw some shit the other day where Theo Von was like, "Oh, Lil Dicky steals my jokes." That shit's been ramping up more and more and more. It's just all of them, trying to get your attention by fake fighting with each other and fake arguments and shit. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Who cares, dude? Why do you think I give a fuck about that? I don't understand. But it does seem like people do, but you also can't trust, numbers on social media and shit like that, because things are not as they seem. But that does, it's an instance of what I was talking about, like this place kind of seeming like it's defending itself or trying to keep you from realizing something. Because I don't watch stuff like that. So take a step back and say, algorithmically, why would a person who doesn't watch like gossip shit or beef content, I don't watch any of that bullshit. So why is it being pushed at me and everyone else? I don't give a fuck what Steve Harvey said to Mark Curry. I don't care at all. Why would I give a fuck about what TK Kirkland says to like, it's constant. It's constantly trying to get you to, hey, don't you want to see this beef between these two hot celebrities? No, nigga, I don't care about that. Stop it. You know what I'm saying? That would kind of like make sense if they were a part of this place. And it's not to say that there aren't secret societies like occult orders and fraternal orders and fraternal brotherhoods and shit like that. That's also a thing too. I'll acknowledge that, but like the level to which it's happening right now is pretty fucking ridiculous. That's, to me, it's almost glitch level. Like, you know, say, man, I I get it. They're beefing. There's a lot of beef right now. I get it, but you're kind of like suffocating me with beef. Just like shoving beef into my nostrils. Pause. It's weird. I think that's weird. I don't understand why. If algorithms, their whole point is to get you to keep watching and to get you to, you know, stay on the app, but you keep showing something that the being is very obviously not interested in, doesn't that go against what your app is trying to do, which is to keep that being on the app open, using it? You know? You keep pushing stuff that I don't watch at me, I'm going to turn this shit off. I'm going to stop using the app. I'm going to go to a different task, a different thing. So if your agenda, if what you're trying to do supersedes that being using the app, and you don't care if they just see it for 2 seconds, but you want them to think, oh, the celebrities are beefing, that's interesting. Like, that's weird at the very least to me. And for all of these celebrities to like start doing it at the same time, I actually did consider like, oh, what if they're just trying to like get other people to you know, embody that same energy? But it just doesn't seem very practical to me. I'm not gonna come at people weird because fucking what's his name, Anderson Cooper's fucking talking shit to Kathy Griffith or some shit. Like, who gives a I don't, that doesn't affect me in that way, or at all really. I could give two shits about either one of them, but that's not gonna make me go to someone in my life and just have like an attitude because Anderson had an attitude. You know what I mean? So there's got to be something else. Gotta be. And a lot of them are fake. A lot of those interactions, they're not mad at each other for real. They're not beefing for it. You can tell how they're talking. Like, the shit they're saying is stupid. Some of them are better at selling it. Like, Cat Williams seems like he's better at selling it, but the rest of them, not the rest. Some of them are very obviously acting in those videos. And it's like, okay, well then if this is predominantly fake, like what's the purpose of it then? You know? So that lends to the thing that I'm kind of asking myself, like, do they work here? Are they like a part of it? Are they a part of this place physically? Or are they, you know? It's very interesting to me to think about the concept, especially once you go into look how long all of us have been looking at like celebrities and all that shit is like, oh, they're a part of secret societies and so on and so forth. Okay, so then take an extra step. What if that secret society would be like the management of this place? And so that's why they do such like weird and crazy shit sometimes, like a chick will shave her head and scream and poop. You know what I mean? In front of TMZ. Like, what's happening, commercial universe? I'm still on that doo-wop shit, bruh. I'm still on that doo-wop shit. I just had some epiphanies. Not really epiphanies, just some thoughts that I'm kind of working out. Yeah, like, I think that there's... And then, okay, so another aspect of that, too. Look at how many of them are related to each other. And not only does that go for politicians, I think that many of us, if you pay attention to politics, you've maybe come to realize that all, like, most of politics is incest. They're all related. They're all fucking related to each other. And that doesn't just mean the ones that are pigmented the same. Like, even if they look like they're different, races, which is not a real thing, they're still related. They are related to each other. People have been kind of doing the genealogy, the ancestry, physically. They've been putting in physical work on connecting these people to each other. One was like a grade schooler, I think. She did that for a summer project, and she connected every president except for one. All of them, including Obama. You know what I mean? Obama is related to him too. To a king. European, United Kingdom king somebody. I don't remember. King, I want to say King George something, but who fucking knows. But all of the presidents are related to a king from the UK. And just to be, the reason why that is, the United States corporation is an experiment by the UK. This is an annex of the UK. You think that you're separate from them, but she owns more land here than everyone except for Gates, which that might not even necessarily be true. But, she has the only alloidal title, every time I try to remember how to say that shit. She has the only alloidal title that I'm aware of in the United States. Some of that land is over the deep underground military bases in Colorado. Like, why the fuck does the throne have so much shit over here? There's actually a show that talks about this in totality. In totality. It's called Taboo. It was on FX. It's a very, very, very boring kind of show. I thought it was interesting, but a lot of people were like, hey, I can't finish this show, bruh. I appreciate you telling me about it, but it's fucking boring. If you can get to the end of that show, it's not just the last episode, it's like the last few episodes, it shows you how this was made. And the UK did it, like almost on some CIA type, shit. Definitely some, secret society type goofiness. But essentially, this is an experiment, a corporation. I guess that's why they call it a corporation. This is a corporation, and they own it. And I know that some won't like that, or they'll feel like that somehow takes their life from them because they can't feel complete in loving the USA. But reality is reality, and that those things are true. This is a corporation that was established by the UK, and we are all indirect subjects, supposedly, not in reality, but of the throne. That's what's intended, but that doesn't mean that that's what it actually is. That's just the intention. And so, thinking of all that, look at how many politicians are related not only to each other, but to a monarch from the UK. They can be, traced back to a monarch in the UK. Then look at how many celebrities are related, or they just look exactly the same. You've seen those TikToks or Instagram reels where they put two celebrities' pictures up next to each other and they look exactly the same over and over and over again. There's I'll say dozens, not hundreds. There's dozens of them. Dozens. At some point you have to kind of look at things and be like, okay, so my assumption was A, but what if it's actually B? Okay, so I was told C, but what if it's actually A? Like, I think that is one of the keys to us being able to figure this place out and or have a better experience here. I see things that I don't see many piece together in a specific way, and it makes me want to look into it and ask about it and see what that shit means. And that's what kind of happened with the celebrity shit. And now that I think about it, politicians and essentially everybody that gets like kind of shoved out into your face for entertainment. I think it is for that. I think it is for entertainment. I've said multiple times recently, I think that Hollywood and all that shit, music industry, all that is government agency shit. Some of it they've been coming out and telling you. Like a recent story is that rap was created by the CIA. That's fact. I've been saying that, but I get shit on for saying it. But now that they've admitted it, I don't think you can't. If you try to get mad at me now, I'm just going to be like, all right, well, I can't help you. They just admitted that they created it. You know what I'm saying? I talked before about this. There's a story that a guy told. He was a music executive, right? He was called to a meeting. He was invited to a meeting at a super rich person's house about an opportunity. He gets there. He immediately recognizes a bunch of other beings that are also within the industry, not just music, but just like, high level players in different industries like it. They start this presentation and they're basically outlining what we know today to be the rap industry and the private prison industry. They were basically telling them, we're about to launch a program where you can own either stock in or you can own outright a private prison that we will be filling by using music, rhythmic music, African, my bad, by using hip hop, by using rap to influence the young and impressionable minds that will be even more impressionable by the poisons that we put into their food and into the liquor and drugs that we drop in their neighborhoods. They will act in specific ways. We will change laws to put them in those prisons for longer. And not only will you make money on the front end from the obvious shit, you'll make money on the back end because you're making money off the music, you're making money off of the pharmacology, drug shit, you're making money off of them going to the prisons, the music, all of it. You're making money off of all the shit. So this guy said he heard them detail this plan. He's just sitting in a room and they're telling all of these dudes, this is what we're about to do. And he's freaked out because he has a conscience and he's like, what the fuck? Oh, I can't be here. So, but he knows he can't leave because they'll fucking kill him. So he stays there for longer. He sees other dudes looking around the room like kind of freaked out and scared, right? And he doesn't know what to do. So I don't think he ever in the story, if I remember correctly, I don't think he ever actually says what decision he made. But I would imagine this nigga had to do what he had to do. They'll fucking kill you for that. You see how they did that, right? They didn't actually give them a choice. They brought them there to tell them, look, you're already in this industry. This is what we're about to do. You can't stop it. You will not do shit about it. So you can put your money in and shut the fuck up and we'll give you your returns. Or you can be a fucking idiot and say something right now and we'll fucking kill you. That's what that meeting was, if you didn't get that. That's what that meeting was. Hey, we're about to do this. We're basically just seeing which one of y'all is going to tell. Very common in organized crime and gangs and shit. You basically just lay it all out. And if someone acts funny, you do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I know when I get to talking about the more metaphysical shit, it starts to make beings feel weird. When I talk about this stuff, like the story I just told, that's easier to believe, right? But if you really think about it, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. So if within the microcosm of this conversation, meaning the more realistic seeming shit, if they're willing to do stuff like that, then bring it up to the macrocosm of this entire realm, this entire place. Isn't it as above, so below, as within, so without, microcosm, macrocosm? You know? Doesn't that make sense? I'm just trying to look at the macro to micro and make sense of it. And the main reason I'm doing that is because I feel weird shit. There's weird shit going on. I see weird shit. Weird shit happens to me. Weird shit happens to people I care about. So, I mean, that was an indicator. And I keep coming across stuff that just makes sense to me. And then it gets corroborated, whether it be by others that are researching and studying, or by fucking religious text. You know what I'm saying? Religious text. Satan is the god of this realm. Satan is the god of your world. Like, bruh. Weird shit in like what? What do you mean? Like, as far as my life goes? Do you, which weird shit? Okay, so I try not to repeat myself too much, because you know, I got a YouTube. I put these up on YouTube, and you know, they don't want to watch the same stuff over and over again. I'll say one, but you know, I talk about a lot of stuff, man. If I would subscribe to the YouTube, or at least go check it out, because there's many stories that I've told about things that have happened to me, things that I've seen. But for, let me think if there's maybe one that I haven't said that I'm comfortable with saying, because I'm also gonna put a lot of those on Patreon, to be honest. There's one up right now on Patreon that's real fucked up. Ongoing, very fucked up. But I don't feel comfortable saying that, just public YouTube stuff. I don't know. I guess I'll just use the main one that I use. But you know what? A lot of beings look at that and they're just like, well, that's just racism, though. So I can't really use that one. Okay, so I told commercial. Okay, you're getting on YouTube. Cool. Yeah. Because there's plenty of stuff there. There's plenty of stuff there where I talk about the many weird things that I've found, both in my life and just life in general, that have led me to the place that I am currently.